Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today at ASB. I look after safety, critical risk and a whole lot of things. Terry, as I said, looks after wellbeing, and Amanda works for me and my advisor and works very closely with Brent and his team. Thank you. Thank you, Brent, for putting this on, and thank you guys for coming. It's great to have you here.
Our pleasure.
Nice for you to be in our ASB building.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, check out our new money person. They are our parent company.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, and I guess let's hand over to the professionals. Kinda.
That's you guys. I'm pretty sure that's not us.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Bueller.
Bueller.
Welcome to the Brisbane Safety Differently Bookclub. Thank you, non-Brisbane people. Okay, Steve Harvey is our normal host, and we miss him dearly. Love you, brother. But anyway, Steve who? So welcome, everyone, right? Thank you very much for being a part of this. And Todd, thank you for being our first guest in Auckland.
Wow, I am so pleased.
Thank you, mate.
First book club ever for Todd.
Okay, first.
Yeah, I don't do this.
He doesn't.
Way too good for this crowd.
And we normally.
Way too good.
Wow.
It's a pamphlet club.
Pamphlets.
Now,
Small pamphlets.
in honour of Sutton, it is actually one of the biggest book clubs that we've had. I'll do a head count to make sure it is but you're close. You're pretty close. So, but thank you very much. So, has anyone heard of the Brisbane Safety Differently Book Club? Yeah, all right, cool. So, the whole thing, right, it was started by Jeff in Vancouver, and it was a safety people with a drinking problem, or drinking safety club with a drinking problem, right?
That's true. So this is my second book club because I went to it.
Yeah. So then Steve started in Brisbane. His first one, he had 8 people. Next one had 25, and since then we usually get about 40. And the whole aim, Stephen's vision was, it's about community. It really is. I just usually stand behind the scenes and hit record and then do lots of editing, and people don't like what we say. So I don't need to introduce Todd, but just know that for everyone here, we release these on YouTube when we make them available for the wider community, right? So it really is about community learning, making them better. So welcome, brother.
Glad to be here.
Again, yay.
Yay.
All right, so I'm a little bit of a fanboy. A little. All right, that's why I'm wearing a jacket, just saying.
This is.
All right, so what
I didn't think it could get creepy.
It's interesting, right? But we're in the land of the long white cloud. So what I wanted to do is, it's land of the Lord of the Rings, right? So I've got 9 questions, as in the 9 Nazgul. So probably won't get through them because of the way you rabbit on.
I'll go short.
But Todd, give some feedback to people at home. How did Safeguard Conference in Auckland go today, mate?
So I thought it was really fun. I thought it was super informative. They had lots of people up talking, but I agree. I think the sense of community and the people's involvement was remarkable. You guys did a great job. You were good. You were good at sitting there looking interested. That's a talent.
So for those at home and in Brisbane, so before we kick off, we're not in Brisbane and we miss Brisbane, right? So for us, we have 2 sporting teams. So one is the Brisbane Lions, and they made don't you wave your head, right? So the Brisbane Lions won their final. However, you guys don't associate it all with AFL, but I know that you have a rugby league team, the Warriors, but I don't know where you were in the finals, but let's not talk about the Bledsloe. Moving on. So on behalf, Todd, just to start off, on behalf of the Brisbane Safety Differently Book Club, I was wondering if you would wear our Brisbane Broncos, who are in the final this Sunday. We thought we'd bring a touch of Brisbane. So on behalf of the Brisbane Safety Differently Book Club, thank you for wearing a Broncos hat and go the Broncos. Yes! Magnificent. All right, so I'm gonna kick off. We will never get there. And I was like, I'm so clever. I'm going to ask questions that no one's ever asked before, and 5 of them came up in our session today. I was like, I know, they get it, man. They get it. Right. So, Todd, and I've got, I actually purchased books. I help pay for the flights. Okay. Right.
5 principles.
Right. The 5 principles. All right. You described HOP as applying the principles through the lens of safety differently. Hear me out. So, the HP principles were formed in nuclear, and basically the regulator came along and said, oh, you guys have got a human performance problem. Can you fix that? And then once those principles came out, many years later, they were applied through the lens of safety differently. And when a company tries to take these principles on and they look at the tools and they go, oh, learning teams and error reduction, and they don't do the philosophy of the 5 principles, what happens?
So it most likely will fail. Or it won't be as good as it could be, for sure. Because to me, the big shift, there's 2 shifts that I think matter. Well, maybe 3. I'd put 3 in, but not more. One is that the worker's not the problem. The worker's the solution. That's a huge shift, and that's hard for organizations to make. But once they make it, they're good at it. The second one is that I think we have to redefine safety, which is kind of what Decker's work has done pretty aggressively, which is safety is not the absence of accidents, it's the presence of control. And then the third thing, which I think is really significant, is that we have to sort of communicate clearly that how managers respond matter. And so one of the things that's been interesting, because once you write a book like this, when you guys write your books, and you'll all write your book, everyone writes a safety book, when you send it out to the universe, it is not yours anymore. I mean, it's someone else's, which is great, because I don't want the responsibility, so I'm fine with it. But it's really interesting to me that a lot of groups early on didn't like the idea that managers' response matter, and they rephrase it as everyone's response matters. What I'd suggest is, I don't think that's true. I think a peer response is very different than a management response. And I think the message, at least in this 5 Principles book, is that managers really need to understand that improvement is a deliberate strategy. You can't use that word enough with your management team. Getting better doesn't happen accidentally. It's a deliberate strategy. And how you respond to failure really colors how good the organization is at getting better. How was that?
It was good, apart from the fact that in my talk today, I said, it's not about leaders, it's about you in the room, et cetera, et cetera. So, but anyway, thanks for shutting down my bit.
No, I don't.
On to question 2.
I don't mean to, but let's talk about this a minute, because I think it's important. I actually think the people in the room are the most informed and most conscientious. What I know is that a leader can ask a question, give a look, make a statement that can shut down the organization. The chilling effect is profound.
100%.
And so what leaders have to realize is that they have a pretty awesome responsibility. I mean, the example is, and all of us have this story, is where a leader basically looks at you and says, that's not my job. I don't, like I had a mine director after a fatality tell me, I don't know anything about mining. This is not my responsibility. To which you have to look at him and say, yeah, but you're the general manager. No one else is coming. You're it. And so if you're not going to take responsibility, this mine's going to be in big trouble. And so you have to sort of hammer that idea that how they respond is important, but the word I really like is deliberate. Improving is a deliberate strategy. You've decided as a leadership team to deliberately move towards getting better. So
I like that. Right.
It's just made up.
Does anyone own this book? Right.
Yeah, I'm sad. If you own this book, that makes me sad.
It's an awkward book, right? And but I mean that in a good way. And he actually opens with it and says, there shouldn't be a need to write this book, but it's the workplace fatalities, a failure to predict. It's actually my favourite audiobooks. And I've got the audio book, right? And my kids get in the car and they'll go, Chapter 11, Dad's book about death.
Yeah, I
know. But so Lachlan and Zoe give me so much shit, and I'm like, that's actually Dad's favourite book. And they're like, can you switch to Spotify before you
anything else is better than that.
Right. So in this book, right, you challenge the idea that 0 equals safety, and you highlight the importance of learning from everyday work. So boards, though, often rely on counting incidents and showing green dashboards. What shifts in leaders when they stop celebrating the absence of failure and start learning from everyday operations?
Well, one thing that shifts is they stop killing people. So that's pretty helpful. So this book was written for one reason, and that is there was no resource available for a leadership team that had a fatality. And so we probably, unfortunately in this room, many of us share this story. So this is such a great and unique crowd because we've all kind of been in this world. The most frightening thing to a leadership team is to have somebody die. And they really don't know what to do next. And so this started probably at an Alcoa facility in WA that had a fatality. We had a big meeting. We talked about what to do, path forward for the leadership team. And then I had to catch a plane. And for those of you that haven't flown out of Perth, it's kind of a deal getting out of Perth. I mean, you think you're there, and then it's like 6 hours more. It's just, it's the Perth trip, right? And so I got to catch this plane. And the managing director of the facility, as we were leaving, said, "Can I talk to you?" So I call those "got a minute." You got a minute, right? And he pulled me aside and he said, "I have no confidence this won't happen tomorrow." And so then I had to say, crap, I have to change my plane ticket because getting out of Perth is a big deal. And we're not going to solve this one in 5 minutes. And I started thinking about it. So one of the things that I think is so important is when a bad thing happens, a critical event happens like that, one of the things that we need to do is to actually bring the leadership team together and tell them, you must feel afraid. This must feel scary. This is something you didn't bargain for, nor you hoped would happen. And they'll mostly say with the door closed that they are afraid and they are scared. And the two things that we're going to manage with the leadership team, and that's what this book tries to talk about, is confidence and capacity. So we have to get the leaders to believe they can lead an organization that doesn't kill people. If they don't believe they can lead an organization that doesn't kill people, then the organization will continue to have the latent conditions and weaknesses within it, and people will die.
Is that where everyday work comes in, though?
Yeah, everyday work becomes really an important part of this secret code, or I guess it's not secret because there's a book, but there was just nothing out there. I don't think that book is interesting.
Well,
I mean, it's like, I can't believe it's your favorite book.
It's easily my favorite book.
There's a ton of other books that, like, my OnlyFans site is more interesting than that. And cheaper. I actually
definitely cheaper.
Well, I pay you, Josh, so it's way cheap. Yeah. Una pregunta. Yeah, sure. Why not? Oh, you can.
Is it related to that question, though?
Yeah, you can now.
So for being an organisation where fatalities occur, you know the tangible effect that it has on leadership, buying that they want to change. How do you do that when there's no fatality? How do you engineer that?
So I think you have to be strategically opportunistic. So I would tell you, I wouldn't wait for a fatality. I mean, right? And I think that strategic opportunistic approach is really significant. But you're not going to get the same bang for the buck with a near miss, because a near miss isn't a fatality. What you have to do is sort of set the case up that, and what I find works, what certainly worked for my leadership team, because we're pretty good at not killing people, I mean, is when I told them that fatalities aren't a lack of prevention, they're a lack of control. And they kind of got that. I mean, because I said, we're working diligently to prevent this from happening. Nobody wants this to happen. It's the worst possible thing that could happen. But when it happens, it's almost never because we failed to prevent the accident. It's almost always because the energy surprises. This book makes a case that there's 3 reasons people die. And you've added a 4th, right? No, you haven't.
It's what I shared today as well.
What? Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Brent always adds a 4th to everything, so that's pretty normal. But 4's good.
Do you trademark it?
The big thing is that in most cases, either we had defenses in place that didn't work, right? That you see that one a lot. We thought they thought they would be good, but they just didn't work. Or the big one is we just never imagined, and that's what you said earlier. Yeah. We just never imagined this way. This was a failure mode that it was beyond imagination. Now, in my world, in the nuke world, we call that beyond safety basis. So if it's beyond your safety basis, then there's really no way you could predict it, because it's really more of a failure of imagination than it is a failure of prevention. The key is is to really help the organization understand that regular work or everyday work, whatever you guys call it over here, regular work. I try to never say the word normal work, just because I'm not really sure there's a lot of normal work.
Yeah.
There's everyday work, but it's
There was a good discussion with the crowd today.
yeah, it's always it's always different.
Every day seems more realistic.
Yeah, but I do try to really help them understand that our goal is to really to allow systems to fail gracefully, which is if you've not read David Wood's, the resilience engineering guy, that's a term he coined a long time ago. It's funny, he doesn't use it very much, and he kind of makes fun of me for using it. But I think in our world, failing gracefully is probably a pretty profound way to say it. We're going to fail. When we fail, we want to land as lightly and as beautifully, like a ballet dancer, and just kind of move on from there. But again, this book, I'm always surprised because so I'll respond to an event where there's been a bad fatality, and they'll say, "Can you come and help?" And I'm always surprised that the entire leadership team's already read it. So they definitely know it's there as a resource, and they use it. But I think your question is the most important question. How do we take this same energy and apply it to the organization without killing somebody? And I just think we look for opportunities to have those conversations. And we can learn from others for sure. And there's plenty of events happening that I think are pretty telling. So,
Is there anyone in the crowd who's on their critical risk journey? Can I recommend this book, right? Because we took this just as we were doing critical risk management, and it helps you frame why you're doing what you're doing, and helps you frame, if I just verify guarding, I'm going to be rock and roll. It doesn't work that way. Right, so I'm going to stay on leaders for a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine.
Cool. And can I come back to your question? Or is it related to that?
Previous comment.
okay.
You mentioned safety is on the absolute.
The Nuzgul are never going to leave the Dark Tower, by the way.
The dark.
Right, I'm never going to get through my 9. But that fair call, go.
Safety is not the absolute negative, we're talking about it. But you mentioned safety is the presence of control
Right.
as opposed to adaptive capacity. So I'd like to hear your,
Well, so I think,
how do you relinquish control if you don't actually accept adaptive capacity?
so, and I think this is a good question, because I think we use control so that it actually means not control, but control. I mean, we know, the weird thing about that sentence is most of you understood exactly what I just said. And a normal person would be like, that is a weird meeting up in the cube, but I don't know, right? So really, I'm always desperately looking for a word that I can replace, because really what I want to talk about is adaptive capacity, but I tend to not, that's really a hard jump for a leadership team to go to adaptive capacity, because that is also a meaningful term to us. But I would suggest to most of the world, that's like, well, you just made that up. I mean, that's, it's like military intelligence, or you can think of all the oxymorons that exist out there, right? Or Trump's Freedom Act. I mean, those are all.
Stop! Do not clap that.
Yeah, no, you can clap that. But I mean, that's a really good question, because I'm not sure the word capacity is the right word for us to use. I'm also not certain adaptive is the right word, except that they're really meaningful to us. I think we're kind of always desperately looking for maybe a better term. And so I use control, but I don't think I should. I use margin, safeguard. I try to float through a bunch of different ones, barrier. I try to sort of give them something to pick and choose. I don't know if it works or not, but.
All right, I'm staying on leaders. It is my turn now, right? It's my name up there. Right, the latest book.
And
who's bought this?
You're kind of a big deal.
See,
too.
out if you haven't. All right, out. Okay, not kind of a
I didn't even think about it.
not kind of a big deal. I'm a no deal.
Yeah.
Right. So, when you say learning is the new currency of safety, that's what you've written in this, right?
Yeah,
You and
I
Jen,
think that's probably accurate.
right? So, the sharper challenge, and I'm taking the view of Andrew, my boss, right? What's the return on investment for a business on
question.
becoming a learning organisation? But wait,
Good question.
right? And if we invest in being a learning organisation, what changes in our business? Why should we I want NPAT, my shareholders want NPAT,
Yeah.
net profit after tax, if you don't have that boffin money stuff, right? So what does being a learning organisation give me, Todd?
let's deconstruct that a tiny bit. So one of the challenges we have, and you've had this your entire career, so this is not new knowledge, is we have something that in science or in math they would call the absence of a null set, right? So you know what that is? You can't measure something that didn't happen. And so our biggest problem is if we're really good at our job, nothing happens, which gives us absolutely nothing to measure because nothing happened. So the challenge is I think twofold. One is we have to move our organizations so that they measure the things that lead and are actually made better by metrics. And there are many things that are made better by metrics. I mean, they're important and they matter and they work. But some things don't lend themselves well to metrics. And those are processes that we need to monitor. So improvement for a learning organization, and really the return on investment is pretty remarkable. The problem is because there's no null set, you really can't measure how much money we didn't spend. I tried at my place, and I only got to do it once, and then I got in trouble. But instead of submitting days away and reportable, I made a list of all the people that didn't die, right? And I submitted it, which was, thank God no one died. So I just submitted a list of all the workers, right? And that it clearly had impact. I mean, it made a difference. It was not nearly as clever to the senior leadership team as I thought it was going to be, but that happens a lot with me, so it wasn't a deal. But it definitely was something they talked about because it was a printed report about that thick. I mean, it had a lot of stuff in it. I think our challenge is, and it's a really interesting challenge, is that I'm not sure we can value the absence of a null set in traditional sort of engineering-centric metrics. I just don't think we can. So I think we have to ask the question, does it feel like, are the employees feeling like that they're more engaged, they have, better communication, we have better workflow? And what happens eventually, and this will just happen, is that your peers in finance, your peers in operations, your peers in production will start to measure increases in production, decreases in downtime. And those are actually things that you can measure. One of my favorite things to measure is maintenance rework. Because you get a maintenance team kind of on this trail, and they're the best ones in the organization because they're the ones that'll look you in the eye and say, this is crap, we're not going to do it. I dare you to teach me. And then by the time you're done at the workshop, they're your biggest fans. They're experts. They will help you understand where that progress exists. But this is a really interesting challenge that's always existed. It's not bad. I mean, it's just the metrics we've used traditionally are not very good metrics. So they just aren't. What we ought to be measuring is the efficacy of our capacity. But that's pretty difficult because there are so many things that make a difference. So I don't know what to tell you other than the stories we tell and the narrative is really an important part of sort of having people feel that confidence and capacity. I cannot say this enough. An organization that believes it can be the safest organization in the world does the craziest thing. They become the safest organization in the world. And so that belief that this is more than a value to us, this is how we do business. And you guys, some of you work there now, but all of you've been in organizations and teams that they were just really good at what they did. It's hard to measure why, but it was there and it was tangible. We just had to think of ways to talk about it in a narrative, which is my last comment, is the one thing I think AI brings to the table, and this didn't really exist very much 3 years ago, is the ability to do narrative analysis and to listen to the language of your organization and to analyze that language for improvement.
Like that. So on same book with you and Jen.
Yeah.
Amazing, right?
You want the story of that book?
Sorry?
You want the story of that book? I kind of told it this morning. So that book entirely was on one thing. One thing. It was only going to be on one thing. It was going to be on accountability. That the goal of writing that book was accountability. I would have rather eaten a bug than write a book on accountability. I was just completely disgusted. And so Jen said, well, let's go someplace fun. Well, so I don't know if you guys know this, but currently right now, Lima, Peru has the best restaurant in the world. It's called El Central, and it's the number. It took over the one in Copenhagen, Nano. It's now El Central. Well, El Central, in case you're wondering, is right next to the Hilton Garden Inn in Lima that I've stayed at for work for years. And so I know the people who run that restaurant because it used to be, I mean, I'll just admit, the closest restaurant to that hotel. So I have a lot of rules. One rule is I never eat in the hotel I'm staying in. Because if you eat in the hotel you're staying in, you're the most boring person on earth. You know what I mean? I didn't mean to look at you like that. It's just our eyes locked. But
That was a spot for
yeah, if the shoe fits, I'd wear it, baby. Well, so that restaurant became really popular. And the crazy thing is that Jen said, well, you're really not into this book. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not into it. And she said, what if we go to Lima and write it there? And I'm like, well, yeah, because we can go to El Central. So long story short, we get there. And El Central, which I used to eat at for like $3, and it was more food than, like you needed a wheelbarrow to carry it was a ton of food, was now $600. And even though they knew my name, that didn't give me a discount. So I'm like, hey, I guess I'll have a taco over here, right? But we started writing this book, and we've done all this research to come together to talk about accountability. And the discussion almost immediately went to how different the discussion of accountability with workers was than it was with leadership. So I don't know if you've talked much with your workforce about accountability. I had not. I mean, I didn't even think about it. But because we were doing this book, we went out and asked these questions. And we had a pretty good, so we probably had more than 1,000 people we talked to. So it's a pretty good data set. And it was really crazy because leadership talks about accountability around really control, small c control, that's that word again. You know, and how can we hold people sort of synonymous with discipline, kind of weaponized. I mean, you know all the stuff. The workforce was completely in a different place. And it became really clear as we got into this book, we actually had to go out and ask more questions, that there's some big changes afoot. And you're going to know this because you interface with workers. But it is shocking to realize that the workforce that's coming into work now is not motivated by money. Now, if that doesn't freak you out a little bit, like if you're old enough to remember More Than a Woman, right? And you know who you are in this room. More Than a Woman to me. The alternative lyrics are Four-Legged Woman, which also fits the song perfectly. It's a Bee Gees song, right? That has to freak you out because it's unbelievable to me to think that money doesn't motivate work, and it doesn't. In fact, what these workers told us is they're going to work till they get what they need, and then as soon as they get what they need, they're not going to work and do what they want to do. And so these companies would tell us, yeah, we've had to change. We make onboarding quick, simple, and easy, and we make offboarding pleasant and effective because everyone's going to come back. I mean, I don't know what it's like in your world, but that's not the way. Like, if you left us early, we made onboarding as painful as we could because we kind of wanted to spank you on the way out. Right? What's amazing to me is basically what they said is that workers work until they get what they need, and as soon as they have what they need, they leave. And so this is a super, super interesting problem because this all started with a biopharmaceutical organization that's relatively large in Europe, and they make biopharmaceuticals. So they make pharmaceutical fluids. I don't really know what they do, and the word fluids kind of grosses me out. It is, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound weird? You've got some fluids on your shirt. I mean, it's like, oh, don't bring the black light out, I'm safe, right? But one of the things they told me is, so their starting salary for the organization, I have it in dollars because it's in the book. Their starting salary, no degree, was $135,000 a year, US. Okay, they had free kayaks. None of this is made up. They had free kayaks, free childcare, free dry cleaning, free Starbucks, free cafeteria. They had a car wash once a week, right? And the kicker is they had unlimited M&Ms in all their conference room.
Oh,
I know. Don't you want to work there? It's like, oh my God. I mean, I'm glad you have a free kayak, but I'm more interested in the unlimited M&Ms, and I'm sure there's a limit to them. Just stand back, right? Right. And they told me that the president of this company told me that 50% of the people they hire do not show up for the first day at work. 50%. And that 50% of the people who show up the first day don't make it to the first Friday. And I mean, and this wasn't a jokey conversation. This is just a matter of fact. And he said, we've had to change our induction where once it was 6 weeks and pretty technically based, it's now 6 hours, and it basically sends them out for on-the-job training. Because he said, we're not going to make a 6-week investment if they're not going to make it till Friday. So that's really where this book kind of took its origin. And this book, I still clearly, because I'm talking about it now, am freaked out by this book. This book freaks me out.
so I bought the ebook of this, and I was like, wow, this is a really positive message to go to bed to.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't know if I want to continue, but anyway. Look, on same book, right? In this, you and Jen argue that culture isn't something that leaders can fix.
Yeah.
So if leaders can't fix culture, what's their first step in actually understanding it well enough to influence it?
So I think you just answered the question. Is they have to take the time to understand it well enough. And I think they have to ask the primary question which is, what do we need this organization to be? Right? And once they understand sort of what the goals of the organization are, then they can start to talk to the workers who do the work and ask them what they need to get the organization in the right place. So
Cool. Same book. I'm staying on this.
I'm impressed.
Mate, after an incident, right? So in this, you talk about that humility is the doorway to learning and improving.
Yeah. Don't you think that's true?
Yeah, I do. And I finished my talk with that. I was like, we've just got to be more human, right? After an incident, and like you said today, you shared with the room how many fatalities that you've been involved in, investigations, etc. What does humility actually look like in a leader, and how can people tell that it's actually genuine?
So I think that the second part of that question is pretty easy. People are really good at telling if you're genuine or not. If you're fake, we're onto you. I mean, so you need to be genuine. You need to be real, because it completely shows up if you're not real. If you're faking it, we'll be onto you in a second. But I think the more important thing is, I think it's because the workplace is changing, I think leadership has to change. I'm not sure how it has to change, with one exception. I think leadership has to be more humble. The way they think is the right way to manage the organization is clearly no longer the right way to manage the organization. If you're not motivated by opportunities and supervision, and they're not, if you're not motivated by money, and so you ask, well, what does motivate them if money and supervisory opportunities don't? The quick answer is what they want is to feel connected. So they want to be a part of something. This is crazy. I know this. I mean, I don't know how you think about this, but it's crazy for me to say this. I mean, it just freaks me out because it's so different. They would way rather be in a strong friend circle of peers, coworkers that they work with, than get paid another $10 an hour. And they're definitely not interested in being the boss. They're just not interested. What they'll tell you is, I have no loyalty to this company. Ready for this? Because this company has no loyalty to me. And the crazy thing is lots of people said this to me. And the crazy thing is when they say that, I mean, I was trying to be, but I'm kind of thinking, yeah, you're right. I mean, they really probably don't have a lot of loyalty to you. And the companies that I would suggest are, in my mind, less attractive to work, you can sort of figure out, they're often big warehouse distribution companies, right? Because that seems like that's the wrong way to manage teams. Here's what I learned. They're thriving in this environment. They're thriving. And their people are pretty happy. They're just not involved in a long-term commitment with the company. They're going to stay at the company till they get enough money for a concert ticket or a new car. I mean, they had really tangible things. The crazy thing is, I mean, have you talked to, who has kids that are between 20 and 30? I mean, any of this resonate? I mean, it's crazy to me. Like they have no inkling that they'll ever own a house. Zero.
Yeah, true.
Zero.
Yep.
They don't even want to because it's never possible. I'll never make enough money to own a house. So if I never own a house, all I need to make is enough money to pay rent.
Or live with you forever.
Or live with you forever.
Cut that bit. Lachlan, Zoe, off the table. Not happening.
I mean, I think, and my premise is, I think this is going to influence safety. I mean, because we're going to have less experienced, really less indoctrinated, or what's induction? Induced? That sounds bad. But you know what I mean? They're going to have less training, less skills. Virtually, I mean, I don't know if you're following this, virtually nobody's getting a degree now. It's just not worth the money and time for them to get a degree. The world's changed, and I think it's going to have to change the way our organizations look. I don't know. Do you see it? You might. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, and I don't think it's bad or anything. I mean, so secretly, I totally am freaked out and I think it's bad. but I think you just have to say it's different. And if we don't catch up with it, we're dinosaurs. But we're dinosaurs anyway. So.
Yeah. Right. New ideas for old problems. Everyone recognised the Jenga set that we went through today. And I told the story of syphilis. Sorry, it was Sisyphus, not the bacterial disease. We were talking about the Greek evil king, all right?
It's the same.
It was Sisyphus, okay? Remember the story? Jay Bryant. Right, so in this book, right, you say that better questions drive learning.
Right.
And we've discussed earlier that learning is the new currency, right?
Right.
So when bad news lands, so bad news comes across a leader's desk or our desks, what is a great first question for a leader to ask and the simple first step that they can take to keep learning moving?
So easy. It's the same first question I use for everything.
Oh,
No, that's a good question. But it's the same. What conditions had to exist for this failure to succeed? I mean, that's always that's everything that happens, I think. What conditions had to exist for this failure to succeed, right? And part of it is, I kind of said it to you earlier, one of the challenges we have is that our leadership team, at least in my case, really was in love with the Swiss cheese model. They had no idea where it came from. They, got it in some MIT leadership thing. They did. I mean, that's where they got it. And they were in love with it. And they were like, well, and you have to say to them, that model is actually how failure happens. Is when you have enough weaknesses in each barrier, eventually they're going to line up and the most robust system in the world has the potential to fail if you don't check the efficacy of the controls, the layers of cheese, right? Well, they're not that interested in that part of the conversation. They're much more interested in the fact that we need a lot of Swiss cheeses in line to block that. Yeah.
Oh.
That hurts?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Like a dagger.
Oh. He's crying a little.
Again, no, it's my second hurt feelings report of it. I filled out today.
Call HR, they care. The rest of us, on the other hand, not that much. So, that's interesting.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I need you to look down the camera. Right? You looking?
Yeah.
You can go closer if you want. Do a big fish eye. Ready? Hey, Todd. Todd, most of the people listening to this conversation, they're not CEOs or board members. They're safety practitioners working hard every day.
Every day.
Right? Often without a budget or a dashboard.
Yeah.
What I want you to do, and it's your work as a solution, not a problem, right? You call practitioners that they need to lead differently.
Yeah.
Like our mob need to lead differently, right?
Yes.
For the people listening, including these Auckland lovelies, right? who don't own a dashboard or a budget.
Yeah.
What is one move that practitioners in our space can make tomorrow to grow influence without burning out? Even if change is moving really, really slowly, What is one thing that practitioners can do tomorrow, Todd? No, so it's four. I'm not going there, right? No, but like actual practitioners, right? What can they do tomorrow, Todd?
So there's two answers in part A, and then another couple answers in part B. So part A is, in order for us to lead differently, and I really do think we have to lead differently. I mean, I think this meeting's a great example of people who are genuinely interested in leading differently. And the crazy thing is you do lead differently. This has changed how you manage above. Because we all have to manage up, and to a great extent in the safety community, that's a big part of our job, is managing. So I think there's two things that I would bring to the floor and challenge you on. One is we have to refuse to oversimplify events. There's a lot of pressure on us to make the report as short and as palatable as we can and get it to senior leadership so they can read it in one page and determine what corrective actions they want to do. A lot of the events that you see, especially the significant events, the close calls, near misses, the big events, really desire, need, and warrant more than one page. When we oversimplify a problem, what happens is then leadership thinks it's a simple problem. I'll give you an example. If a person fails to follow lock and tag, okay, we often write it up that the worker did not follow the lock and tag procedure, the worker got injured, therefore the problem is that we need to be better at following lock and tag. It's as easy as choose to do it or choose to not do it, right? That's kind of what we send up the chain. I would question that at every level, because when is the last time you saw a highly technical, complex isolation process that was as easy as do it or not do it? I mean, they're really hard. And whatever industry you're in, I promise you, you have very elaborate lock and tag and isolation processes. We need to tell the story of those details so they know the story. That's really an example of leading differently. The other thing is that I think we have to tell the story of success much better than we do now. So the whole question, it's the why I bang on it all the time, is there's two things I try to say a bunch of times, especially when I'm with a board of directors or senior leadership team, is what's happening when nothing's happening? The Eric Hollnagel question. It's a great question. The other thing I say to them a lot, so they leave there with it etched in their brain, is just because nothing bad happened doesn't mean nothing bad happened. Right? Because they need to know that. These guys have micro failures all day long. They have giant pieces of equipment fail and they recover. And there's no need to report it because we delivered on time, on schedule, on budget, and everything's fine. Nobody got hurt. It's just work. Well, that's part of what we have to challenge. Now, part two of this is how do we stay in the game? This is a hard question. I don't know what to tell you other than sometimes it's hard to keep the energy up. And it's frustrating, especially when you get kind of what do you call them? Peterhead? No. Yeah, that's it. That's the word I'm looking for. Right? Somewhere in the chain of command. It's especially bad when they're in the senior leadership.
With that language?
Yeah, I know. It's mostly used by truck drivers and fisher people, right? That's really frustrating. It's hard. And I would suggest that the thing I try to remember, and it's hard, but I try to remember it, is when somebody argues back and is mean to you, don't get angry, get instructive. Because the only reason they're getting tough with you is because they clearly don't understand. I mean, they clearly aren't at a place where they understand how to have the argument. The other thing I would tell you that's really helpful is seek organizations you can help succeed. So peers, other companies, it's really powerful to work with other people because it makes you feel good. It helps them. It helps you. And one of the things you learn is we're not as bad as we think we are. I mean, I know because I'm you that it's really, I know, but it's really easy to think we suck at this. And then you go out to another company and you're like, oh, well, we got these guys beat. I mean, we're not the worst persons. They are. We're the second worst persons. That's good. That makes a big difference. And then for me, because I really was like, the problem with being burnt out is that by the time you realize you're burnt out, it's too late. You're burnt out. One of the things that's really helped me was this children's hospital effort I've been doing. It's remarkable. I mean, it's remarkable to me to go to a meeting and them to say, and I'll bring the lady over here. 23,000 premature babies did not die because we did learning teams with nurses, and they told us how to make sure they don't die. 23,000. I mean, you're just like, okay. It kind of makes Heartstop look like a booger, but you're just like, and they're just like, this whole HOP stuff is crazy.
Hold my beer.
I mean, it's there, no one ever talks to the nursing staff. Well, here's what this collective group of 50 people would say. For God's sakes, talk to the nurses. What's wrong with you? They're doing the work. So that's important.
All right. I got 2 really quick questions, and that's it.
Okay.
First one is from William. What is your favourite sandwich?
Ooh, good question.
You put it forward, Will. You work for me. You get a question.
No, that's a really good question. And that's a good question. I mean, I love cheese. I'm pro cheese. I think that's on my record. I think I've made that pretty clear. If I were to pick a sandwich that's...
Do you like warm cheese or fruit cheese, according to like Sutton?
Liquid cheese.
All cheese...
Favourite sandwich?
All cheese is cheese. It's all delicious. I cannot pick between my children which is best. All cheeses are cheese. Probably, I would think a really well-made Cuban sandwich would be really good. A lot going on. It's got a pickle, so it's got a little funk to it. You got multiple meats, so that's good.
Stephen always asks this as our last question for book club. So the jukebox has just finished playing Four-Legged Woman.
Okay. Four-legged woman.
By the Bee Gees. Four-legged woman.
Four-legged woman.
Four-legged woman. Right. What is the next song that is going to get you up on the dance floor and singing karaoke?
On the dance floor singing karaoke?
Yeah, what is the next song that the jukebox is about to play to get you up singing and dancing karaoke? If it's not Four-Legged Woman.
You know what it is?
What is it?
It's Raining Men.
Hey! Hallelujah! It's
I just made that up.
Amen. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to thank
Thanks, you guys.
Todd Conklin.
This was fun.
And welcome to the Brisbane Safety Differently Book Club.